Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington, an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank. Welcome to this edition of Business Icons. I have a very special guest today, Gary Sipos. Gary, welcome to the show.
Yes, it's
Good
a pleasure
have
to meet you.
Hey, so listen, I know you're a nationally recognized speaker, author, as well as a planned giving consultant.
Correct.
And it's a mouthful, right?
It certainly is.
But on a day-to-day basis, what is the ideal kind of client that you might be dealing with?
Right. Well, I deal with nonprofits.
Nonprofits
that have an existing planned giving program.
Okay.
And what I do is I help bring that planned giving program from down here and bring it up to here. I want to help that planned giving program just blow up and help out that charity, but do it cost efficiently.
Gotcha. Now, so just so I understand, though, the nonprofit is hoping to achieve getting many people that give them money on a planned basis. Is that
absolutely?
Right.
That's correct.
That's the planned giving side. Is that you help them get more planned givers, so to speak, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's because I think when I think of charities, I'm always getting, every week I get an opportunity to donate something to a charity, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like it's always kind of, hey, we're having an event next week type of thing, right? Literally get those weekly. But what you're saying is charities and nonprofits should go about more of a planned situation where donors can agree to donate on a regular basis. Is that what planned giving is all about?
Or to give a gift from their estate. And a planned gift, and it can really help us make the charity and the nonprofit have a much solid foundation. But I find that there's four things that they really need, and one is that there are problems they all face, and one is they have a critical problem with, it's a complex message, planned giving and planned gifts is a complex message. So to simplify that, so number one is to make that message very simple.
Gotcha.
And the two is to push it out.
Simplify the message.
Simplify the message, number one. Number two is to take it out and push it out to their donor database and even beyond to get it out there, which leads
the
number
new donors, right?
There it is, which leads the conversation. So number three is it leads the conversations, which leads the gifts, annual gifts like you're used to, but also planned gifts. And the last one is the most important one, and that's the tough one, and that is how do you do that time effectively and cost effectively? And so that's the four things I see they need.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in the world of charities, how many charities have, I'm trying to see of like a before and after scenario where some charities maybe are getting 10 or 20% of their money from planned donations, whereas you come in and help them increase that, right? So let's talk about something like that, right?
Yeah, sure. What we do, just in a nutshell, so we help them increase their planned gifts, try to double them.
Right, double it, right.
But very cost effectively. So bottom line, just do that very cost and time effectively.
Yeah.
Right. And how I got into this was sort of odd, sort of my life story and why I'm so passionate about it. Is, actually, I was on both sides of the fence when it comes to charities.
Right.
And so when I was
donor, making gifts and donations, right?
Exactly. But before, when I was much younger, actually, believe it or not, I used to be at times in my life I was homeless.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I live in a car with my dad, and every once in a while, somebody would come to our door, and they'd knock on our door, and they would have a bag of groceries for us, and it was wonderful. And I'd ask my mother, and I'd say, "Who was that?" And she would look at me, and she'd say, "I don't know." And I would think, "Boy, what a blessing that somebody would just knock on our door and give us a bag of groceries."
That's amazing, right?
Yeah. And so I was on that side, and so now, fortunately, I went to school and became an entrepreneur, much like you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And my buddies and I from Stanford, we started little startups, and a couple of them crashed and burned, but a couple of them went, M&A and IPO. So then I was on the other side of the fence.
Oh, you made some money there, right?
I certainly did. It was wonderful. God bless America, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I found out two interesting things. And the first interesting thing was, I gave money. I'd give like $100 to this charity, every year, or $500, and others I'd give substantially more. But the thing that shocked me was not a single one ever asked me for a planned gift.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that shocking? Yeah. And so one thing I would like to see charities do is reach out with a simplified message that could bring in those donors. Yeah.
Gary, this story, you went from homeless to Stanford University, and we talked before the show. So then, as you got involved with, you probably made some pretty good connections at Stanford. I would
certainly
imagine,
did,
right?
yes.
And
Yeah,
these
yeah.
IPOs, now as a successful entrepreneur,
Right.
you made money with some IPOs and things, then now you're a donor, and now
Right.
you give to charities, but I'm going to tell you the exact same thing.
Right.
I've been involved with more than a dozen charities over the last 10 years.
Right.
Not one of them has ever asked for any kind of a structured, planned,
Right.
regular type thing.
Right.
And so,
Yeah,
so these are potential clients, for
the charities.
For the charities,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the second thing I found is, and you'll very much relate to this, and that is scaling. So I was giving, and with you have only so much time and money.
Right.
I was always thinking, how do we scale? Like you with the Ginsu knives. You saw this gentleman, and he was selling these great knives,
Right.
but he was going from like show to show to show.
Yeah.
And you're like, how can I scale this? And then you invented, just creatively enough, the infomercial is amazing. And then you sold Ginsu knives like crazy. Well, same thing. Well, so how do you take that concept to charities? How could we scale up? So I looked around and I was like, well, I could maybe, I could figure out the processes and procedures or myself, or I could find something I could plug and play that we do all the time in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So I found the Donor Motivation Program, and they're like the Ritz-Carlton for
Beautiful.
planned giving throughout the
Nice.
nation. And actually, they're international. They're up in Canada, and they have this wisdom and all these advisors that help out throughout the United States and,
Wow.
and up in Canada.
Donor
and so
motivation.
we bring those processes and procedures and policies, into charities and
Nice.
help them just very quickly bring up their planned giving.
So
Planned gifts.
I'm a marketing guy,
Right.
and when I think of a charity, I think they do need to do some marketing, right?
Right, absolutely.
And do you help them? Is this part of the donor
Absolutely.
motivation?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, it's that. And how do you do that time effectively and efficiently, and to get results?
Right.
Yeah.
So this one of the big challenges that I can imagine that charities have
Right.
is distinguishing themselves in the marketplace,
Right.
making sure that they have the credibility. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing, I'm sure, with great charities with honorable causes.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that have had some issues and haven't been so great. So,
Right.
so you have to deal with the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Teach them how to elevate their status in the community,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of the image process. But then how to market themselves to donors also.
There you go.
And
That's the issue.
yeah.
And so we have a special report about trends, the 7 critical trends facing the industry.
Right.
And as you have to pay attention to these trends, or else you'll become Blockbuster.
Right.
They had so
Oh,
much
yeah.
power and strength. They were the industry standard, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
they didn't follow the trend.
They fought it all the way to the bitter end until
bitter
they
end
closed the
and
doors
stop.
down,
And-
right?
and so we have a report that gathers the wisdom of the Donor Motivation Program from all the experience that they have throughout the nation. And when we brought it into a report, the 7 critical trends and challenges that nonprofits meet. I can't address all 7 right now because we have a short period of time.
Right.
But I'll just address a couple. So one is they did a survey and they found out that planned giving professionals, they spend less than 25% of their time on planned giving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then they get new board of directors, and the new board of directors come in,
Yeah.
and they say, hey, I don't want you to focus on planned giving. There's an annual gifts. Let's focus on that because there's a project I want. And so there's a stop and start and stop and start, and of course the donors get confused.
Yeah,
And so
sure.
that's one trend that we see throughout the industry. That
Yeah.
And so that another trend is just is media scrutiny.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's Charity Checker and Charity Navigator, and
Right.
what they've done with donors is they refocus donors to look at dollars as opposed to their mission.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's really sad. So the question is, how do you get through that? How do you break through that?
Yeah,
And so
right.
these are trends that charities need to be aware of and also know how to get beyond.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is an amazing conversation, and just the one thing that you mentioned, I serve on lots of boards,
Mm-hmm.
and so I see a lot of times as a CEO that gets in, a new CEO, he's
Right.
focused on instant changes and income, whereas planned giving is for the long run.
It certainly
and
is.
so they
Build
they
a
tend to
strong
focus on
foundation.
the short term
Right.
as opposed to the long term because they got to
Right.
show some immediate benefits, right?
Absolutely.
And so you, as a planned giving consultant, can come in, overview, and advise the CEO on down on how to do this across
you
the
go.
board, right?
There you go, yes.
So I think there's probably some people out there that have some questions. You've put together this amazing 7-step report, right?
Right.
And if somebody would like access to that, is this free of charge, this special report?
Yes, if they come to my website, which is donormotivationsanfrancisco.com,
okay,
they can read the report and just download it for free.
Download it for free. So donormotivationsanfrancisco.com. And that's where they're going to get the 7 steps to planned giving and some of the pitfalls and some of the things to look for.
There you go, the
absolutely
trends.
free. This is a pretty amazing offer. They get it absolutely free. And I just think, Gary Sipos, it's been great talking to you.
Sir.
And your
It's been an
transformation of your own personal situation
Thank
into
you.
a very successful entrepreneur, planned giving consultant, nationally recognized speaker and author. Great having you on the show today.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
thank
you
you for being here on this edition of Business Icons.